And good morning, everyone. We're bringing you special live coverage of the victory parade for the world champion Boston Red Sox.
Live look now at Fenway Park, where the parade is getting underway and those duck boats getting to roll out into the streets of Boston.
And we're looking at part of the parade route this morning in Boston. We're expecting those duck boats, which are lined up outside of Fenway Park, to begin rolling along the streets of Boston a short time from now, as always. And we've had a number of these parades, haven't we, Patrick?
That's right.
They don't normally start exactly right on time. Normally a few minutes after 11 o'clock, we'll start to see those duck boats rolling this morning. And we're expecting this parade to take about 2 hours. So really giving fans out there a nice opportunity to be able to get a look at the players, the coaches, and the staff today. Certainly
not the first rodeo for Boston sports fans when it comes to parades. This is the 11th since 2002. The Patriots have had 5 of them. Red Sox, this will be their 4th. And Celtics, they've had 1, and the Bruins as well in 2011. So 11 of these since 2002. Pretty familiar with the parade route. Right now we are looking at live pictures at Fenway Park, and about 10 o'clock this morning they had their kickoff ceremony, so to speak. Patrick, I know you were monitoring that live feed this morning where we heard from Mayor Marty Walsh, the mayor of Boston, as well as some members of the Red Sox team. We're going to be recapping what they had to say this morning. That's right, and Yanni Caracas, Julianne Lima have been up at Fenway now for a couple of hours. Julianne actually ran into a woman from Cranston who is driving one of the duck boats today. On her boat, Cora. She was also a part of the Patriots rolling rally a couple of years ago, mentioning that she had a chance to drive around, I believe she said Rob Gronkowski, or at least he was maybe in the duck boat in front of her. So she's had an up-close experience with these sort of parades the local woman has, so we'll hear from her throughout the morning here on our coverage of this parade. I actually think we have that interview for you right now. Let's listen in. We will bring it to you. Right now, we actually want to show you the parade route because, again, the intricate details of this parade, we want to let you know where exactly these duck boats are going to be traveling today. So right now, it's going to start at Fenway Park a few minutes from now. Then it will head down Lansdowne Street, taking a right onto Ipswich Street, and then a left onto Boylston to Tremont Street, and then ending at the Boston Common. It's going to be fabulous. You know, you and I have both provided live coverage of some of these championship parades before, and what an effort it requires from the city of Boston to be able to pull this off. I was looking at some of the statistics this morning about, you know, the staff that's required to keep things safe for those who are attending today, because anywhere between 500,000 to 1 million people will be there. 90 additional EMS members are assigned to this parade route alone. So again, quite the effort to be able to pull this off. Right now we want to listen in to that interview with the duck boat driver that we mentioned just a moment ago.
Rhode Island. She's actually the driver of this duck boat. Leah, how did you get involved in this?
Well, I had a captain's license, and when I was looking for a job, I said, I'll just put it out there and see what happens. And this is what actually showed up, and I was like, really? Like, captain's license for this? So, but then they also wanted you to be able to act. And I have a character that I won't be doing today because we're supposed to be part of the ducks. But that's what I do normally, and sometimes we drive and sometimes we narrate. So today I'm driving, lucky for me.
Right, and we understand you're going to have some precious cargo on board.
Yeah. A couple in particular. Cora for one, that's kind of the big one. And then Ramon Vasquez, and I'm not even sure about the other ones because I haven't even looked at all the names. We kind of just got here to Fenway. So we've been up since 3, getting them ready and all that kind of stuff. So.
And cool. We understand you were also part of the Patriots Victory Parade 2 years ago. Yeah. Talk a bit about what it's like to be driving one of the duck boats during these rolling rallies.
Well, of course, we're supposed to just be part of the duck. The show is them, not us. It's all about the Red Sox today, and that's the cool part about it, and the company's really specific about that. But, I mean, the view is ridiculous. I mean, we have the best view ever from the front of the duck, and plus you can see everybody, and it's just nice to be in Boston and be part of it for sure, so.
Definitely historic moments, Leah.
For sure.
Thank you so much for joining us. And from the duck boat, I'm Julianne Lima. Now back to you.
Pretty awesome. She has a front row seat in one of the, what did you say, 25?
Yeah, we're estimating over 25 of these duck boats. You know, from these victory parades, it's ranged anywhere between 17 and 25. So it seems like we have a full contingent of those duck boats today. And you can see the parade route here, part of it anyway, and fans lining both sides of the street, anxiously waiting the arrival of the Red Sox as they roll through the streets of Boston. Parade's supposed to get started a few minutes ago, but there's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of moving ducks. So it's going to take maybe a few more minutes to get things straightened out and organized and get those ducks rolling. Those duck boats, those modes of transportation. Speaking of
modes of transportation. Sports director Yanni Caracas has crisscrossed the country over the past week following the Red Sox in this World Series journey. Yanni is now up in Boston as part of our parade coverage today. Yanni, give us a sense of where you are and what the atmosphere is like.
Hey, Patrick and Danielle, we're at Copley Square, one of the prime locations for parade viewing, right? You have the train station a block away, so fans all traversing up here from Rhode Island and points elsewhere. We have the public library, and we're right on Boylston Street, so the parade will be coming by us. Right now, I'd say it's anywhere between 10 to 15 deep, full of people. Maybe upwards towards 20 right there at a primetime spot. And fans are still funneling in because we're about halfway into the parade route. So you figure maybe 45 minutes or so from now, the duck boats will be coming by here. And we have the public square and just so many fans. It appears no one is working today. Everyone's just going to be partying for the Red Sox in the parade and then going right into their Halloween activities. But a wide array of different fans. You have families, you have a lot of college kids. Old and young, people who have experienced the 86-year drought, those who have only experienced success, right? I mean, if you're a teenage kid, Patrick, you have a teenager, you know this. 16 years old, you have 11 championships here in Boston, and of course 4 in the last 15 years. So fans are so fired up. Fans of different ages, their sobriety are up and down. There's been a lot of chants so far. Still people talking about the Yankees, even though that was, a few weeks ago. And WEI is handing out the "Beat LA" chant, or "We already beat LA." So, but the Dodgers are secondary right now. This is all about this championship team. And when you talk about the team in general, Xander Bogaerts was just a rookie back in 2013. He was on the team. Dustin Pedroia, who was injured this year, and Brandon Workman, and that's it. So this is new to all these guys. They're experiencing it together for the first time, so it should be a really special day for these guys.
Right, I do have a teenager, and it's funny, I joke with him. I said, Con, he's 16. I said, Con, yeah. it wasn't always like this, buddy. This was Loserville for a long, long time, and now for your generation, we've switched it over to Titletown.
It's fun to see some people that we know here in Rhode Island who are at the parade, sending pictures of their families along the parade route today. I have a few friends who are actually inside of Fenway and saw that kickoff celebration inside of the park a short time ago. Yanni mentioned how, a lot of people just are skipping out of work in class today. I actually saw a classroom teacher tweeting this morning a picture of her empty classroom saying, is there something going on in Boston today? What's going on? A lot of families look at this as an opportunity just, for their kids to learn, to have fun. They feel like they're getting a better experience out in Boston than maybe, one day in the classroom today.
We often say with events like these that, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You can't really use that excuse anymore because it seems to happen, a lot. And, you're on deck now, Patriots, Celtics, and Bruins, all these teams with great organizations and great rosters in place here for this year. So, yeah, it's not a once-in-a-lifetime thing because it could happen again this year. But first things first, this parade. And we want to get back out to Julianne Lima. She is at Fenway Park. She's been up there since about 4 o'clock this morning as the preparations for this rally were getting underway. And has there been any movement outside the park? Are these duck boats on the move yet, Julianne?
Well, Patrick, you're right. We've been here for close to 8 hours now, and I have to say the scene did not look like this at 4 in the morning. It was a ghost town. Now the streets are filled. As far as the duck boats go, we haven't heard them leave yet. They're going to be way down Lansdowne. We can't see them from this side of the sidewalk, but we peeked over a few minutes ago. They were still idling, still on standby. But again, we did introduce you to Leah Reynolds, that woman from Cranston who drives one of the duck boats, and she explained all the work that goes into preparing them. They have to be checked by security. They have to be fully stocked with some bottled water and snacks because the players get hungry during a 2-hour parade. They need a little break on board. So no doubt that they're going to be getting underway soon. You may also notice there's a large police presence here. They've been bringing in officers by the busload to patrol the area to keep all the celebrations safe. And again, we are on the backside of Lansdowne Street. The parade isn't going to come behind us, but people have been crossing all throughout the morning, trying to get a better shot of those duck boats before they leave to carry on the 2-hour route. And again, no sign of them taking off just yet, but we think any minute now. And we're hoping to get a good shot of them once they do leave. So we'll keep you posted on once they get going. But reporting live from Lansdowne Street, I'm Julianne Lima. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Julianne, thanks so much. You know, for days now, people in Boston have been encouraging anyone who was coming to the parade today to take the MBTA. Don't drive into the city if you could all avoid it. And I know Michaela McDonald caught up with some folks this morning as they were taking the trains into Boston. In fact, I saw on social media as well people singing on the train, singing Sweet Caroline and some of those tunes that we all know and love associated, you know, with sports in Boston. It's such a fabulous thing to see people getting excited at the early hour, even before they're making their way into the city today. And it is, of course, Halloween as well. So I guess you could craft it into sort of a holiday, more of a holiday. Usually you don't get the day off for Halloween, but as you can see from these pictures here and from what Yanni and Julianne have been saying, a lot of folks have decided to take the middle of the week off, not only to celebrate the trick-or-treating aspect of this day, but also the Red Sox winning the World Series aspect of this day. Before the parade starts, or started a few moments ago, a lot of the Red Sox executives and players, staff members were inside Fenway Park. There were a lot of fans actually inside Fenway, and probably still are, getting a chance to see these duck boats leave Fenway Park, and some of these members of the staff and the politicians had a chance to address the Red Sox fans that were inside Fenway Park, including Red Sox President Sam Kennedy, who's fairly new to the job, and also, speaking of fairly new to the job, Red Sox manager Alex Cora.
In 2004, these guys came in, we reversed the curse. In 2007, we showed that it wasn't a fluke. In 2013, you guys, this entire city came together in a way that no one thought was ever possible. And in 2018, this team made history.
I just hope they understand how important this is for our fan base. Like I've been saying since day one, this is crazy, this is madness, you know, and you guys live this 24 hours, 7 days a week. Your expectations are way up there. But one thing for sure, the same expectations you guys have, that group down there has it too, and that's what they're the world champs.
And Alex Cora won a championship with the Red Sox as a player in 2007, and he's the first rookie manager to win the World Series since 2001. I mean, obviously a record-setting season for the Red Sox, 108 regular season wins. They started the season 17-2. You think back to April and May, and there was a time where you're thinking, are they ever going to lose again? I mean, it was unbelievable. It was almost like this race for the American League East was over July 4th, and usually, you know, you maybe like Labor Day where you start, you know, waving the white flag if you're one of these other teams, but it was over early, and the Red Sox, of course, went on to finish it off and win their World Series, their 9th World Series title. You know, part of our coverage today, if you can't join us for our television broadcast all morning long, we are live streaming this on WPRI.com. We're also sending, you know, tweets this morning and posts on Facebook. I know Julianne Lima just texted me on the set that she heard the duck boat engines firing up. So a short time from now, we should start to see that contingent rolling up. And then we do have live aerial footage of those duck boats getting cranking as they make their way down the First Street in Boston along that parade route. Short time ago, we did hear from Boston's Mayor Marty Walsh and also Governor Charlie Baker of Massachusetts, and here's what they had to say about today's festivities.
Hello, Red Sox Nation! Are we ready for a parade? How awesome was this team? Well, let me just say, thank everyone for coming in today. I want to thank the Red Sox. They're an incredible organization, starting with the ownership down to our general manager. I had a chance to go to Caguas, Puerto Rico with Alex Cora in the very beginning of the season, and I saw what type of person he was. He's an amazing man, amazing team, with the best fans in the world. By the way, how many of you have only lived in the 2000s for the Red Sox? I gotta tell you, for all of those with gray hair, you are living in the golden years, folks.
You're talking about the fact that if you were born in anything time after 2000, this is all you know.
Can we just take note, by the way, of the spirit of those two politicians this morning? I mean, this is a day that really everyone looks forward to, but as a city leader, a state leader, you get a chance to just really just enjoy the spirit of the city, right? I mean, that's what it's all about today. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Bostonian, if you're from New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, anywhere in New England. I mean, Boston is your city today. Everybody's part of the same family today. Here's some more live aerial footage of those duck boats right now.
And you could see, or now you can see what Yanni Caracas was talking about, that the fans are literally stacked 10, 12, maybe 15, 20 rows deep as these duck boats start to roll through the streets of Boston. So they're leaving the Fenway Park area. I mean, a lot of narrow streets with a lot of people on them, and these duck boats don't exactly move very quickly, nor should they on a day like this. You want to see your Red Sox players and get a chance to interact with them. I remember when a Patriots rally, spent 5 of those, so I'm trying to think of which one it was, but the players, they stop pretty much a lot, and you're having conversations with these players, these athletes, in some eyes, some people's heroes, in the middle of downtown Boston. And in some cases, the players are handing over adult beverages or pieces of their clothing or whatever the case may be. We can say Julie Edelman was the ringleader in that situation for a Patriots event a couple years ago. But in any event, this is sometimes as close as a lot of these fans can get to these players.
Absolutely, because even if you go to Fenway, I mean, sometimes, the seats can be far away, and you really are only a few feet away from these players today. So the opportunity for pictures and, as you said, interaction, really, you get a great chance to get an awesome, selfie with some of the players behind you today. Yanni Caracas, I know that's one of his goals today, to try to get some of those amazing pictures along the parade route. We want to check in with Yanni once again. I know those duck boats are rolling, but they're not going to reach Yanni for a little bit of time, right?
Just broke up a little, Danielle, but I can tell you the crowd, since we last spoke 10 minutes ago, is increasing even further. And you can't get a single text or email out right now. There's so many people. In fact, I'm trying to send back pictures and texts and put them on Twitter and social media, and it's just not letting me. That's how many people right now are congregating here at Copley Square trying to get. They continue to roll down here, leaving Fenway just a couple minutes ago. And it's interesting, usually the Patriots do parades quickly after the Super Bowl. They usually do Tuesdays. Here, the Red Sox won on a Sunday, but they waited till Wednesday to have the parade. So really, the team is able to get a little bit re-energized. A lot of times, typically, these players go right from the bender of winning the Super Bowl or the championship into the parade. But the Red Sox players have had a day to spend with their family and regroup and get ready for this one. And when they won in Los Angeles out on Sunday, and we were interviewing all the players on the field and in the clubhouse, everyone talked about how they were looking forward to this moment, celebrating in Boston, because when you win on the road, you have the organization and your family members there, but you're not really experiencing it other than the maybe 10,000 fans that were in Dodger Stadium. So this will be extra special for the team. In 13, they, of course, beat the Cardinals at home, but in 04 and 07, they won on the road. So similar situations where you're really waiting to celebrate with New England and all of Boston during the parade. And chants continue to start here. A lot of "Let's Go Red Sox" chants, a lot of Yankees stink chants, and everyone just so excited for this one. Pictures nonstop. Can you imagine once these duck boats come by, everyone in the world we live in 2018 will have their phone up, trying to take a picture, trying to take video. But as I was saying, you can't really get any, other than a phone call right now, you can't get any information here out of downtown Boston or in Copley Square where we stand, as so many people are here. And it's cool, they have a live TV broadcast of it, so people are able to watch the parade as they're waiting here to see it with their own eyes. But we're about halfway into the parade route, so we're probably still a good half hour away from seeing the duck boats stroll by here. But this is where you want to be. Boylston is the spot, and as far as you can see right now on both sides, just fans donned in their red and blue, all their championship gear, and a fair amount of kids here. So, parents who want to have their kids experience this, whether it's missing school or not. And it's seasonable, mid-40s, so everyone is in really good spirits, and that's the latest from Copley Square. Let's send it back to you guys.
Who would have thought that they wouldn't have enough internet bandwidth in Boston to handle one of these parades? They've only had 11 of these since 2002, but that's the case. Close to 1 million people will be there today, and some of the other financial statistics that are pretty interesting for sports fans, especially because they keep track of these sort of things, and as far as how much money these guys make.
Right.
Each player will receive approximately a $500,000 bonus for winning the World Series, and also there'll be cash bonuses given out to every member of the staff, right from all the way down to the clubhouse boys that are in charge of shining the players' cleats and spikes before each game, and the secretaries and the administrative staff. You see, that's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
It goes beyond with these players. This is their job, and the reward they don't mind sticking around and partying with the folks of Boston because they are handsomely rewarded for not only what they do during the season, but for bringing another championship to the Red Sox.
And so we're finally getting our first ground pictures of the rolling rally here in Boston this morning, and we've been showing you aerial footage for the last 5 to 10 minutes or so. And now, pretty soon, as they make their way towards a contingent of news cameras that we have stationed along the parade route this morning, we'll start to finally see some of the close-ups of these players here along the parade route this morning. You know, we checked in with Yanni a few minutes ago. He's on Boylston Street. A fun fact about Boylston Street today, a lot of businesses are actually open, and construction workers, they've been working on a building right on the corner of Boylston and Tremont Street. They really have like a front row balcony seat overlooking this parade route. We've seen a number of pictures of those construction crews working on that building this morning on social media, just part of the spirit of the city this morning.
And you can see that it's hard to identify who these players are from this far away, but they have microphones, which means there are speakers on those duck boats, which is something new.
Do you think they could be Dropkick Murphys, maybe?
That could be, because they were scheduled to lead off the parade. But I do know in the past that players, I don't recall them having any sort of sound systems on these boats. But if that's the case, of course, we'll bring that to you, the audio of what these guys have to say, assuming that it's FCC approved after
right.
3 days of partying.
I don't know if you saw the interview that they had posted online of the Dropkick Murphys lead singer when they said, you know, we need to have, you know, some music. We need some more excitement in this parade today. And of course, they were like, sign us up. And they agreed to be in that first duck boat today. You know, Patrick, fans have come just from all over today. Julianne Lima was there early this morning when a group of fans from New Hampshire arrived, and it was still dark out there this morning.
Hi everyone, I'm joined by a bunch of New Hampshire natives. We have Jonathan, Justin, and Keith. They come from Franklin, New Hampshire. What was it like getting up here this morning, guys?
It was pretty easy. It wasn't bad until we got in town, and I actually worked second shift and functioned on a couple hours sleep to get in here for the Sox.
Woke up at 4 in the morning, we're here.
4 in the morning. Now, have any of you ever been to a championship parade before?
I haven't. First time.
First time? So what are you looking forward to most?
Seeing all the players, all the people, everybody coming out, showing the love for the teams.
It was crazy getting here. I'm just looking forward to seeing one of my favorite players, probably Mookie Betts.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being with us, and enjoy the parade.
I was going to mention something else as far as finance is concerned. A bit of breaking news regarding the Red Sox. David Price, obviously a starting pitcher, won 2 postseason appearances in a row after snapping an 11-game starter losing streak as a Major League Baseball player. He has decided to opt in on his contract. He had a clause that if he wanted to, he could opt out of his contract and become a free agent and sign anywhere. But this just within the last hour or so has decided to stick around. You know, why not, right, David? You got a pretty
wants to win another one,
here,
you know?
So David Price will be back next year.
You know, one of the interesting things about being a professional athlete is obviously when you're in a World Series. I mean, it's not just one game. You have the potential to play 7 games. Has a big impact on your family, right, with all the practices and the traveling, etc. And fun fact about this parade today, a nanny that has taken care of Red Sox players' children for 23 years is going to be on one of those duck boats today. Obviously, this nanny, and I don't remember her name, but she's played an integral part in caring for some of these Red Sox families' children over the years so that they could, you know, in the week of the World Series, you know, focus on what they had to focus on to be able to bring home a win.
And eventually we will have more ground level pictures as the rally starts to roll through the streets of Boston, and every player is there. There's no one that isn't there. I know a lot of these players, after the season ends, this isn't their home. I mean, some of them, maybe 1 or 2, make their off-season home in New England or in the Boston area, but for the most part, when November rolls around, they want to go someplace warm. So, but a lot of people ask, why wasn't this parade, you know, on the weekend or maybe even on a Friday? Well, let's think about when the World Series ended. It's 2 days later. There's some sort of an agreement the Major League Baseball Players Association has that they will stick around, the players will, for a couple days after winning a World Series. So that's why this is on a Wednesday, middle of the week, not the greatest scenario. But as you can see, not affecting too many people that decided to take the day off from school or work.
You know, one of the interesting things that was noted today, the LA Dodgers, obviously, you know, they have their tail between their legs after losing to the Red Sox. But what a classy move by the team today. LA Dodgers actually took out a full-page ad in the Boston Globe today. So you can imagine a lot of people reading the Boston Globe newspaper because it's a big day in the city today, congratulating the team on their World Series win. So again, a full-page ad ad from the team that lost in the 2018 World Series this year. So again, these are live aerial pictures of the parade as it's making its way through Boston. Once again, let's pull up that parade route to give our viewers an idea of where we are. The parade stepped off about 10 minutes ago, and again, it's started at Fenway, moving down Lansdowne Street. It's going to go down Ipswich, and then a lot of people familiar with downtown Boston, Boylston, to then Tremont Street, past the Boston Common, and it's going to finish at New Sudbury Street. Again, expected to take almost 2 hours. So, Patrick, if we didn't step off till 11:15, we can expect this parade may go till about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
All right, we have more coverage now of the parade, including, let's see, we have now some reaction from more fans that are up at the rolling rally today.
Hi everyone, I'm joined by Stephen Flanagan. He's from Grafton, Massachusetts. Stephen, is this your first Red Sox victory parade?
Yeah, it's my first parade, but I've been around the block a couple times, you know.
So what are you most excited for today?
You know, I just want to see everyone out here going crazy, supporting the Sox, because it's the best season that they ever had, ever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you seem like a very big Red Sox fan. Obviously a historic season for so many reasons. What was your favorite moment?
Honestly, probably when Pearce just went dong, dong, dong. You know what I'm saying? It was amazing, and nothing better than it.
So who are you most excited to see on the floats today?
You know, it could be Mookie, it could be JD. How about everybody? How about Jared Carabas? Jared Carabas is going to be right on that train. You hear about that?
Awesome. Well, Stephen, thank you for joining us. Enjoy your entire day, and go Red Sox.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Go Sox!
Julianne Lima reporting. Now back to you.
Oh, there we go. Some of our first close-up photos of these duck boats. We can start to see the players' faces, Patrick.
Yeah, that's right. As you can see maybe from that video earlier, happy hour has begun in Boston on Halloween on this Wednesday. And you can see those signs there on the sides of those duck boats. And you get a better chance of sort of like a roster of who is on each one of these. And obviously there's Jerry Remy, who is recovering from yet another round of cancer treatments. Somerset, Massachusetts native who's been with the Red Sox for so long, not only as a player, but then as a broadcaster with Neston. So great to see Jerry out there enjoying this. You know, he's such a huge part of what is now known, of course, as Red Sox Nation.
There's the trophy.
That thing looks familiar.
Oh, look at that.
There's the Red Sox trophy. That's Jackie Bradley Jr., if I'm not mistaken, with the World Series trophy. Sox have a few of those. If they could use, you know, they got a couple of them. They can shuffle through each one of these duck boats.
Oh, these players are into it. Look at, I can't tell who's hanging out the window there, but you could really encouraging the crowd. I wish we could. Can we hear any of the sound of this? I don't know if we can. Asking our director in the booth to be able to put up our natural sound here so we can hear the crowds and the players. There we go. That's what we want to hear. Let's just listen in for a minute. Oh, there's Xander Bogaerts in that one.
One of the few remaining holdovers from that championship in 2013. Wally. Wally never misses a party.
Oh yeah, we got a little music going on that float. Oh, don't you love that when they have the confetti everywhere? It just makes with some of the most amazing pictures and just that vibe, right? In Boston right now, Patrick?
Well, now in New York, they have their parade route. It's called the Canyon of Heroes. And in Boston, they're going to have to come up with something that's, you know, doesn't that sound like, that sounds like tough. That sounds like we've done this a lot, right? We've had a lot of these parades.
Well, you'd think after 11 we might have coined a phrase,
well,
you know?
Well, true. I mean, the Yankees, they've done this a lot too down there in New York 26 times. So now the Red Sox trying to catch up there. But we're going to need to find out a better way to name this route because it's being used a lot lately, which is great news. There's some more players there waving that championship banner. Fans tossing things to them.
Rafael Devers on that one.
That's encouraged, but maybe trying to score a few autographs. Is that Devers there?
Yeah. He's on there. I saw the
Blake
flag there.
Swihart there as well, perhaps.
Patrick and I need our glasses. We're both leaning in to be able to see. Oh, now we're panning to the next one.
And you can, it's certainly a lot easier to tell these guys are when they have their uniforms on, but when they're in their casual clothes, it's like you and I, when we're walking around town in our casual, people are like, who are these? Oh, you don't have your suit on. I didn't recognize you. So without their uniforms on and their hats and their numbers, sometimes it's tough to pick them out. Like guys like Big Poppy.
Oh, yeah.
He's up there too. I saw him earlier. He's enjoying this. It's like he's still on the team.
Can you imagine what it feels like, though, for these players? I mean, it's just been a series of highs, right, over the last week or so. I mean, being able to win the first 2 games and then, being able to close out the series out in L.A., then to this victory parade. I mean, just that constant high they've been on the last week. It must be just exhilarating. Also, in that 18-inning game, part of the longest World Series game ever. And we see there, it's hard to make out if those are members of the staff. Doesn't look like any players are on that float. Whoever they are, though, they are ready to party, too. They're in a good spot, right? Yeah. A lot of people wish they were on that duck boat today. Think about how many photographs are going to be taken today, Patrick, right? How times have changed. I mean, with all these cell phones out there, everybody's taking pictures, sending pictures, doing, Facebook Live. It's unbelievable how shared this event really is today. Well, that is Nathan Eovaldi. We were just talking about that 18-inning game where he had that heroic effort in the loss, but pitched what I believe was 6 or 7 innings. And against the Dodgers, certainly the type of guy now that probably won't have to ever pay for a meal in Boston. Pitched so well in that game, it didn't result. And in the result the Red Sox wanted, but still, nonetheless, Nathan Eovaldi, one of the names you always remember from the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2018. If you're just joining our live coverage this morning, it's now 11:30. We've been on the air since about 11 o'clock. And about 11:15 is when those duck boats have started to make their way down the first street of the parade route this morning. Patrick's actually going to get a closer look at the monitor there so we can tell you who exactly we're looking at. It's tough to see sometimes. Oh, that's Joe Kelly. Yep. Joe, of course, decided to throw at the Yankees earlier this season and incited a mini brawl at Fenway Park and became kind of a cult hero around here. Craig Kimbrel also on that float, the Red Sox closer, as is Jason Varitek, who longtime captain of the Boston Red Sox, who is now working as a field. And there's Tech right there behind that speaker. See him? Thumbs up. I see him, yep. He's with the team now on a regular basis, uniform member of the team, helping out with the catchers that, developing them. He's in Pawtucket a lot as well at McCoy with the AAA catchers, developing those future Red Sox players. Patrick, a lot of the, team members, not necessarily all Red Sox, but grew their beards. Have we seen anybody shave yet? That's what I want to see on some of these floats. Varitek's got a nice beard going on today. Well, Joe Kelly looks like he's cleaned up a little bit. He actually got a brand, it was on Twitter the other day, he had a nice new Red Sox tattoo. Oh, already. So that's permanent. I think we're going to be moving on to the next float in just a minute. We'll see who's on Stephen that Wright, one. The Red Sox pitcher, the knuckleball, and didn't pitch much this year because of a knee injury, but Stephen Wright's been a part of this team now for a couple of years. Cool to see some of the family members on there, too. It looks like spouses, children, being brought along on these duck boats today, which is always a thrill for them to be a part of this as well. We're moving on to the next one. Let's see. Patrick, you're getting a closer look. Yeah, Pookie Jackson, he's one of the staff members. Blake Swihart is a catcher/outfielder. Christian Vasquez, another catcher. Sandy Leone, another catcher. That's like the catchers. Yep. Duck boat. There's Christian Vasquez right there, along with his family. And you see Pookie there on the back. Pookie's the visiting clubhouse manager. He takes care of the visitors clubhouse when the other teams come into town. These fans are really like, oh, there's the, looks like the LL Bean boot. Is that what that is? That was the front office duck boat. And we just lost the picture there for a second. There we go. Taking an alternate view here. So again, we were looking at live pictures of the very first street of this parade route. Again, that was Lansdowne Street as they're approaching Ipswich Street. And then we're going to get to Yanni in a little while. He's on the corner of Boylston, where usually there's a huge crowd gathered where Yanni is. Front office boat. There again, we go. A lot of people in the front office. Lots. A lot of rings being handed out. John Henry's got to buy a lot of jewelry after this World Series. He doesn't mind, though. All right, let's check in with Yanni Caracas. He is along the parade route, I believe, near Boylston Street again. Yanni, what are you seeing now? You starting to see any of those duck boats yet?
Yeah, Danielle and Patrick, we are at the very couple of police cars and the first duck boats coming in here, and these are so many people now as the you see the confetti is starting to come into the air, and this is.
Unfortunately, we're having some audio difficulty with Yanni, but we'll check back in with him in just a moment. We also have Julianne Lima on the parade route. We'll be checking in with her as well in just a moment. We're going to be zooming into our next duck boat here. We're probably about, what, halfway, maybe a little over halfway through. Patrick, I've kind of lost count.
Well, this parade got started about 20 minutes ago, and we mentioned it's going to be about 2 hours. So, you know, that Fenway area, you know those streets around there. I'm trying to figure out exactly where these, this is heading towards, I believe, City Hall, correct? Is that,
it will be going by City Hall to the Boston Common eventually. So, yeah, it might be approaching there right now.
Right.
Yep.
So that'd be heading east now from Fenway Park towards downtown.
You know, we've talked for the last couple of days about how used to this we are, but how amazing it is every time to have a championship parade. You know, there are still some major cities who are waiting for this. I was looking up some quick statistics about who has not had a, you know, big championship parade. San Diego, they haven't had a championship win since the Chargers won the AFL championship back in 1963. And by the way, there was no parade that year. So they have been waiting a very, very long time for their moment. And that's just one, you know, there's a few cities that are still waiting. Well, we're so lucky.
Yeah, we are. We're very fortunate. Chicago, of course, the Cubs just winning their first World Series, you know, a couple years ago. That ended a long run for the Cubs. They were like the Red Sox fans, very long time. So they got theirs, but the Blackhawks have had some. The Bulls, of course, for Chicago. So, but yeah, you think about the places that haven't had a chance to have these types of celebrations. And there's one guy that new to the Red Sox this year, wasn't even on the team's roster when the team started their season back in April and went off on that 17-2 start, and things were looking like, wow, this is going to be a special year. Then Dave Dombrowski goes out and finds a guy named Steve Pearce to join the roster. Steve now has played for every single team in the American League East: Orioles, Blue Jays, Yankees, Red Sox. You know, so this guy has played on every single team in that division. We had a story on earlier this week about Steve Pearce.
Right, having that Rehoboth connection,
his father
right?
was born there. So his father's from Rehoboth, so we can claim him now as one of our own, Red Sox Nation. We like to do that. We like to do that with our athletes. But MVP, Steve Pearce was in the World Series. Some argue that it could have been David Price for his pitching performance, but at the end of the day, or they could have been co-MVPs, but Steve Pearce, the World Series MVP. So a newcomer to Boston is now really, really enjoying his time here in Beantown.
These are the best fans in sports right here. And it's meant the world to me. They accepted me when I got here. The team did also. I mean, this has been one of the funnest teams I've ever played for, and I really hope to come back next year.
All right, so a number of players addressed the crowd at Fenway this morning, along with some of our state and local leaders in Massachusetts. We heard from Jackie Bradley Jr. as well, and here's what he had to say to the crowd at Fenway this morning.
We have a very deep team. As you can see, we had a lot of guys contribute throughout this postseason. It wasn't just one guy, two guys who did it. Everyone had their moment, and you know that's what it's going to take to win it all. And of course, we win it all.
Of course you did.
How about the home runs Jackie Bradley Jr. had in the playoffs, not only against Houston, but also against the Dodgers? This is a guy that struggled big time all year with his bat. You never doubt what Jackie Bradley Jr. can do with his glove out in the outfield. I mean, a Gold Glove winner out there for sure, but boy, he picked a great time to start swinging a hot bat, and he did that in the postseason for the Red Sox. And a few minutes ago, we talked about the pitcher, Nathan Eovaldi, who was acquired. Another guy, midseason. Nobody around here probably really knew too much about him. The type of kid that can pitch as a starter, reliever, and maybe even a future closer for the Red Sox. But he came in during that, what turned out to be an 18-inning game against the Dodgers in the World Series, Game 3. He didn't get the credit that he deserves. I mean, if the Red Sox win that, then he might be a candidate for the World Series MVP. Really an outstanding performance by Eovaldi, called on in a spot that he wasn't familiar with, pitching in his first World Series. Shut the Dodgers down for a long time. They, of course, went on to win the game eventually, but we had a chance to catch up with Nathan, who was enjoying his first World Series championship experience.
Yeah, I mean, the first game at home against on the road against the Dodgers, you always want to get that first one out of the way. Losing in extras, you know, for me it was tough. I don't know, I felt like the tides could turn, but with my performance, everybody was so positive. They, you know, really rallied against or with me. And the AC was just saying, you know, it was just an amazing performance, and everybody gave me a little standing ovation in the clubhouse. And you know, I knew going in the next two games that was going to be it.
And again, if you're just joining us for our live coverage, it's 11:40 on this Halloween morning. This is a special live coverage of the championship rolling rally for the Red Sox as they're making their way down Lansdowne Street. Julianne Lima has been outside of Fenway, inside Fenway, back outside Fenway, monitoring the parade. She is live in the thick of it with a self-proclaimed Red Sox superfan, although I think everybody's a superfan today, right, Julianne?
That's right, Danielle. Everyone's a super fan here, but I think I've met the most diehard fan I've ever met. This is Lynn Smith from Wellesley, Massachusetts. Lynn, you've been at every World Series game that the Red Sox have won, correct?
Correct.
And tell us a bit about your outfit.
Well, my hat, I'm known as the Fenway Hat Lady. My hat was made in 1999, and a few years ago I got the actual players. They're Oyo figures. And they are the players in their position, plus my Sitco sign lights up.
Yeah, let's see if it gives a little head nod there. You can see every player. And your robe here, it's made out of old T-shirts?
My poncho is made from old T-shirts, and I always wear the starting 9 on my necklace.
Unbelievable. Now, we were talking about the team. You've seen a lot of Red Sox teams in your time, but this one's special to you, right?
This one, they are such a nice group of young men, and they're very talented. And they did it.
And you were actually in Los Angeles when they won, correct? What was that like?
It was just so much fun. It was fabulous. And there were a lot of Red Sox fans in LA. And it was just fun. Everyone just stood around after and just cheered for them. They went on the field. Their families went on the field with them. They ran around, had a good old time. It's great. Now today, the duck boat parade for everybody. It's all good.
It's an awesome day. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. And again, you can see the crowds are just still streaming behind me. They haven't stopped since we've been out here. And there are, again, hundreds of police officers patrolling the streets. In fact, I just spoke to one officer. He told me there are no officers with a day off. They are all working today so that all of Boston can have a day off and enjoy the day safely. So close to 1,000 police officers patrolling on foot, on bicycles. They've got canines here. Some are in plain clothes. And here's Lynn again, chatting with some more people. But again, it's just been a steady stream of spectators walking all throughout Boston. Everyone is so excited to be here. The feeling, as you can see, is just happiness, excitement. Gumby over here. So again, we'll be monitoring the parade route for you, hoping to meet more diehard fans like Lynn. But for now, back to you in the studio.
Julianne, thanks so much. We want to go back to our live pictures now. We're really in the thick of this parade. We've seen a lot of confetti. You're really starting to see the huge crowds there. Why don't we just take a moment just to watch and to listen in here.
saw some of the Red Sox front office members going by there in the first duck boat. Dave Dombrowski and members of the front office, then the Red Sox Foundation float. Then you saw Alex Cora, David Price, along with one of the World Series trophies that the Red Sox. They don't have just the one they won this year out. I mean, they got them all out this afternoon. Or this morning still.
Can we just take in the picture there? Some of the most beautiful buildings in Boston, those just, magnificent businesses and apartments there along some of these fabulous streets in Boston. So many people out there wearing red. It's just an amazing scene.
There's the MVP.
There he is, yep.
Hat on backwards, Steve Pearce, along with Ian Kinsler on that float. Mitch Moreland as well. I remember, Yanni was talking about, there's only 2 or 3 players that were on this team in 2013 that are still holdovers. Dustin Pedroia being one of them. Of course, Dustin didn't play much this year because of the knee injury, which was, it's really a shame because Dustin's kind of like the heart and soul. One of the guys that's been part of this group for such a long time, came up through the system. We'll see if Dustin's able to resume his career next year.
Don't you? This is great. You've got the players clapping for the fans, right? Which is just the opposite of what they're used to, right? I mean, they have to love this just as much as the fans do. Just that interaction with everyone.
Gotta love the sweatshirts too, because before this all ended, it was do damage.
Right.
Now the sweatshirts say damage done. And I know Sam Adams, of course, came out with a special edition beer.
How did I miss that?
I'm shocked you did. It's called Damage Done, and it's a limited edition brew that Sox fans can get and maybe have as a keepsake, forever.
Now that we're seeing a wider shot there, I mean, you're looking at the police officers and emergency personnel along the route. They're getting to take in this spectacle too. So even people who are working today in Boston, and there are a number of people who are doing that, are getting to really, take in this moment today, which is fantastic.
And we just saw Andrew Benintendi there in the back, along with Dustin Pedroia, Jackie Bradley Jr. as well, Brock Holt. I mentioned Sam Adams, of course, because it's brewed in Boston.
That's right. That's right. Boston beer for sure. We did see a couple people, a couple players at the beginning taking some, as you call them, adult beverages from the fans. Not really any crazy wild moments yet, though, overall.
I don't think baseball players are quite as
rambunctious as maybe some of our
some
football.
Of the football players are. The other thing, too, about this parade, as you see Xander Bogaerts, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Eduardo Nunez. Of course, Nunez had a big home run this postseason, the pinch hit home run as well. The weather, I mean, we've been at Patriots rallies where it's February.
Brutal weather,
one year there was so much snow on the sides of the roads, it just wasn't as comfortable. This is more of a comfortable day for one of these events in downtown Boston.
That right there, when we have that close-up of all that confetti, reminds you of some of the snow we've seen covering some of these rallies before, as Patrick mentioned. Very lucky for these fans today to have weather that's pretty mild, comparatively speaking, for some of these rolling rallies for these football championship wins over the years.
We're seeing some of the same floats again, some of the front office floats. So as this rally moves into downtown a little bit more, you can start to recognize some of these buildings. If you are familiar with Boston, you can see that the rally's made its way from, well, actually, that's, as we were talking about, Yanni Caracas's.
Yeah, he's on the corner of Boylston right now. Yanni's finally in the thick of the parade. We want to check in with him right now. Yanni?
Yeah, well, you can see the police cars and now buses funneling in. The parade just passed us, and it was an electric about 15 minutes here with fans and players interacting a whole lot. A lot of fans tossing beer cans onto the floats where players would sometimes drink them, sometimes put them to the side because they've probably been doing this for 45 minutes now. But an array of Dropkick Murphys started it off, so they're playing Shipping Up to Boston, and then they kept playing California Love, the Tupac song that they were playing in Los Angeles while they were out there at Dodger Stadium. There was a lot of Sweet Caroline, and really the players all looked just absolutely euphoric. I mean, Chris Sale was grinning ear to ear, and you have someone like David Price who had the weight of the world on his shoulders leading up into this playoff run. Just, you could almost see the relief on his face. So fans are starting to disperse a little bit. They saw the 2008 world champions, and many fans here, this is just the beginning of the day. They're just going to try to follow the parade route, maybe go to a local bar or restaurant and enjoy the day, because it's really a party here down here at Copley Square. And the buses, and I wouldn't consider this normal transit, but the tail end of the parade here on Boylston. So it's going to continue going to, I guess, this way. I don't know where I'm standing, east, west, north, or south, but it's going down Boylston Street. And really, as you were saying, Patrick, there wasn't anyone quite at Gronk's level from 2 years ago of shotgunning or chugging beers, but these guys were partying pretty good, and it was nice to see them celebrate with their families. And the Red Sox did a good job of dispersing, the players on different boats. So every boat had 1 or 2 or 3 players, but they were there with their family members. And David Ortiz was on the first float with John Henry and a couple of the trophies, and they had all the trophies over the course of several duck boats. So the crowd here is starting to disperse a little bit, but certainly got what they wanted to see here with the Red Sox rolling by.
All right, Yanni Caracas now able to hear himself.
Yeah.
After the boats rolled through the part of the city that he was in.
I want to let our viewers know, as we're looking at these live pictures of these duck boats, that we're going to be continuing our coverage into the noon hour today. So if you're just joining us and you're taking in the sights here in Boston of this rolling rally for the championship Red Sox, again, we'll be continuing our coverage past the noon hour.
And this is it. This is the rally. This is what you're going to see. It's not in years past. I know these things have come to an end, and the players get out onto a stage and they give speeches and music, and in some cases, like you see Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick dancing on stage in years past. There's not going to be any of that this year. This is the extent of it, which is still, of course, pretty cool. But fans get their chance to see these guys rolling through town on these boats. Imagine, too, those balconies. You can't see those, some of those buildings, 10, 15, 20 stories high. Yeah, you're just in the middle of your workday.
Right, where you live there.
Yeah,
you can just watch right
window.
from your, right from your window. Just fantastic. So many people are there today. I mean, again, the estimated number, about 1 million people expected to be there today. Fans coming from all over New England to see the Red Sox. And even further than that, we actually caught up with some Red Sox fans who came all the way from the state of California.
Hey guys, I'm coming to you from Lansdowne Street. I'm joined by Hayden and Emma, and you won't believe how far they traveled to be here. Where'd you guys come from?
We came from Southern California.
Wow, so when did you fly in and why did you come out here?
We flew in last night and we came to watch the parade because we love the Red Sox and we wanted to be here to celebrate with them.
Now, you're 8 years old. Is this your first big parade for a New England team?
Yes.
And who are you most excited to see?
Red Sox.
Any players in particular? Or no, all of them? So how did you all come to be Red Sox fans living in California?
It's just something we grew up on. My mom's always loved the East Coast and it's just our favorite team.
Awesome. Well, we hope you enjoy the parade. Welcome to the East Coast.
Thank you.
Reporting on Lansdowne Street, I'm Julianne Lima. Back to you.
A lot of times you go to Red Sox games in any park all across the country, and sometimes there's more Red Sox fans than there are fans of the hometown team you go to. If you go to like a Baltimore or a Tampa or even like a Kansas City, no matter where you go in this country, I don't want to say they're America's team, but, kind of like the Patriots.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people around this country, they're a little annoyed with the amount of winning that's been going on around here, but the fan base spreads far and wide.
All we do is win. I love it. It's just an unbelievable time to be a sports fan here in New England. This rally is expected to continue probably past 12:30 because, again, there are several streets that they have to continue down. Again, they've already made it to Boylston, then to Tremont, past the Boston Common, then heading on to Cambridge Street and finishing at New Sudbury Street. So I'm guessing we're maybe halfway through the parade route at this point.
Nice to hear from Yanni, too, that some of these players are actually, interacting with these fans. You mentioned earlier, a lot of times, most times, they don't get a chance to get close to these guys. And, this isn't work anymore. Their work day is over. Their work 9 months is over for these players. So definitely a little more of a relaxed atmosphere than if you're going to the ballpark to see a game. And, one of the new guys on the team this year, arguably a candidate for team MVP for sure.
Yeah.
J.D. Martinez, and the Red Sox for a couple of years looking to fill that void left by David Ortiz. That's really, those are some big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively. And who knows if J.D. will be a guy that can fill the shoes that Ortiz had for so many years in this organization. That's a big ask for anybody. But he certainly had a great year.
He had an epic season. I mean, finishing with 43 home runs, 130 RBIs. And you mentioned David Ortiz. That was the most since Ortiz set that franchise record with 54 homers back in 2006. We heard from JD this morning.
I think, after that first month of the season, just playing alongside the guys and really getting to be, a teammate and really get to, go to battle with them every night. You kind of just saw it. You saw the special. You saw how everybody was just coming together, how they bounced back from games. If we lose a couple games, how everybody just kind of had that mentality of tomorrow's another day type deal. And it was just special. That whole first month is when it kind of just hit me.
JD playing in places like Detroit and Arizona. A little different playing in Boston compared. I mean, Detroit's a good baseball town. Arizona's had a championship or two, but boy, that's a big, big difference. And he was a late sign too. I mean, there was a lot of people that didn't think he would be a good fit. There was some injury issues. There was some would he like to be able to get into this atmosphere, this cauldron in Boston. It's so intense. He's really a laid-back guy. I'd say he fit in pretty well.
I was looking online earlier today about just, some of the memorable moments. I mean, we all know some of them, but it was nice to be reminded about some of the memorable moments and some of the memorabilia, actually, that will be making its way into the Hall of Fame. I was reading that in Cooperstown, they'll be putting the home plate umpire Ted Barrett's ball strike counter from that 18-inning Game 3. That's going to be going into the Hall of Fame, and David Price's Game 5 jersey and Steve Pearce's bat as well.
So, a lot of historical moments for this year's Red Sox team. Of course, the franchise record for wins. Individual statistics, well, Brock Holt became the first Major League Baseball player to hit for the cycle in a postseason game. Did it against the Yankees. Here's what the Red Sox infielder had to say this morning.
Whirlwind. I mean, we set out to do this in spring training. We knew we had a chance. We knew our team was good, but I don't think we knew that we were this good. This has been a special year, special group of guys, and we're very fortunate to play for the Boston Red Sox, and I think every guy would say that. And to bring one of these home and to be a part of it, it's pretty special. Yeah. I mean, we love it in Boston so much. Me and my wife, Griff, we have a house here, so this is kind of like a second home to us now, and we're so thankful to be a part of this city, to be a part of this organization, to be a part of this team. And we all did this together, so y'all should be just as proud.
And as we were looking at that aerial footage there just a moment ago, they were zoomed in. The camera was zoomed into a building under construction. I believe I've seen a number of these pictures tweeted out today of those construction workers who have a balcony, a view of this rolling rally today. It looked like they were on pause to be able to enjoy the parade and then getting back to work later today once the festivities wrap up.
Yeah, the foreman, why didn't anything get done today?
Well,
it's this little thing that kind of rolled through town a little while ago, boss. Might have heard of them, the Red Sox.
I don't think anyone would complain,
no.
Right?
Extra long coffee break and lunch break for everybody today.
All morning long, these fans, they started to get there around 4 o'clock this morning, some of the real diehard fans. And Julianne Lima, Yanni Caracas, they've been catching up with so many Southern New Englanders. Let's listen into some of the fans and what they thought of this event today.
Hey everyone, I'm joined by Lexi and Macy. We're on Lansdowne Street now. Ladies, what are you most excited for today?
I just can't wait to see everybody from the team on the parade. Meeting new people, getting to see everyone, excited and happy to be here.
Now you live in Worcester, Massachusetts. You came up to Boston. Talk a bit about the feel around the city right now.
Everyone just feels like the same mood, happy, excited, ready to be here for the team, the Red Sox. Woo!
The train ride was a lot of fun. Everybody was listening to music. Everybody's just really excited.
Awesome. Well, ladies, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining us. I'm Julianne Lima. Back to you.
They gutted it, so.
We're looking at one of our producers just came in to tell us this building that's under construction is actually a dorm for Emerson College. And look at that crowd there. That's going to be one of those iconic moments today of everybody just standing there in that building under construction at all levels. I don't know how high it is, but there's a number of levels there where everybody's getting that amazing view of the rolling rally below.
Prime real estate for these rallies, these students over the next couple of years, they might get a good view of some of these parades if these teams keep doing what they're doing. Yanni Caracas, once again, in the belly of the beast for this parade. And what do you got now, Yanni?
Well, the parade went by, but the people are still here. I think they're trying to catch up to it and still celebrate this one. Let's show you some live pictures here. We are at Copley Square at Boylston. All these fans love being on TV. This is really the media headquarters. All the other stations from Boston and the neighboring areas reporting live here, much like we are at this moment. So all the fans so excited for this one. You can see the Boston Marathon folks with the 2018 World Champions banner, and way over there on a bus stop you can see, or maybe you can't see, but I'll tell you, there are people who are hopped up on the bus stop stand, and now they're leaping off, trying to get a better view here as the parade begins to clear out. But they really got their money's worth. I think the players on the duck boats know the hot spots, and this was certainly one. The music was blaring. The players were receiving beer cans from several fans and just partying and enjoying this one with the fans. And it's only been 5 years, but like I said, this is a brand new group of Red Sox players experiencing this for the first time, other than Dustin Pedroia, Brandon Workman, and a rookie, Xander Bogaerts. No one on this team experienced a World Series win, so this was new for them, and they were certainly enjoying it on the duck boats. But Copley Square starting to spread out a little bit, but people are, taking all their pictures and videos. Like I said earlier, though, we still aren't getting any service here. If I wanted to text or email you a picture or a video, it just wouldn't go through right now. So that's the amount of people here in Boston celebrating this one and trying to catch up. Everyone's been saying that, you take the day off from school or you take the day off from work, you're probably going to celebrate all day, whether it's at a neighboring bar or restaurant. So the party just beginning here in Boston.
All right, thanks, Yanni. And our coverage of the Red Sox victory parade continues now here on Eyewitness News at noon.
Yeah, we're also streaming this live on WPRI.com as well. Looking at some more aerial footage. If you're just joining us this noon hour, special edition of Eyewitness News at noon, continuing our live coverage of the Red Sox victory parade in Boston today. Those duck boats kicking off from Fenway Park at about 11:10, 11:15 this morning, and they continue to roll through the streets of Boston. Look at those. Oh, wow, we're starting to see confetti actually coming out of buildings now. We've been seeing it on the street view. Now we're starting to see people who live in and around the city of Boston getting in on the celebration at all levels of the city today.
Quick, what documents can we shred?
Oh, no,
and let's get them out the window and join in on the fun. And that looks pretty cool as it comes down from about the 20th floor of that building. In case you are just joining us, this parade about an hour old now. It's the 11th rolling rally type situation for New England sports teams since 2002. Patriots have had 5 of them. Red Sox 4, Celtics and Bruins with 1 each. So times are good here if you're a sports fan in Boston and New England right now.
We're going to be bringing you so many memorable moments throughout the next half hour or so here on Eyewitness News. Some of our staff members, along with our on-air talent, including Julianne Lima and Yanni Caracas, are there. One of our directors, Kevin Kelleher, is a super Red Sox fan. I mean, this guy goes to games, right? Then he comes to direct our Eyewitness News broadcast in the morning on very little sleep. We want to check in with Julianne and Kevin.
Well, I'm joined by a familiar face. My fellow WPRI employees may recognize Eyewitness News Director Kevin Kelleher. Kevin, I hope I didn't blow your cover. You didn't call in sick today, did you?
I did not. I luckily had the day off.
No, Kevin, you're a diehard Red Sox fan. You've got season tickets. What are you most excited for about today?
Just seeing them on the boats. It's always great to experience the championship here in Boston, whether it's the Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, and now again for the Red Sox. And just for us to win 4 championships in my lifetime, when a whole generation went without winning any, and we've got 4 in our lifetime. So this is just great. It's great to be with all the Red Sox fans. And
let's go, Red Sox! We made it, baby!
Yeah, exactly.
We made it! History has been made, baby!
Well, thank you, Kevin. Enjoy the rest of your day. Reporting from Lansdowne Street, I'm Julianne Lima. Back to you.
And that is why people trek into Boston today. It's for moments like that where everybody's just a part of this shared celebration.
Yeah, it's the vibe. It's for you know what it's like in those cities when people say, "Hey, how are you?" A lot of times they don't care about the answer. Yeah. Well, in this situation, people are all sort of happy to be around each other. It's a festive day, and they can just roll right into their Halloween festivities tonight.
continuing the party on. Yanni Caracas is along the parade route for us this noontime if you're just joining us. And again, you just saw Julianne Lima. So we're bringing you live pictures and live coverage. I wonder if we still have the street view or if it's just aerials at this point. Might just be aerials, but you can see the long line of those duck boats. We're told 24 in all, carrying players, the front office staff as well.
Yeah, we want to talk about two this season. The Red Sox had 108 regular season wins. That is a franchise record. Started the season 17-2. Alex Cora, a lot of Red Sox fans remember when he played for the Red Sox. He was part of a World Series team back in 2007. Then he went on to become a bench coach and had a World Series win in Houston last year. Cora collected a lot of hardware lately. 07 with the Red Sox, last year with Houston as the bench coach, and this year became the first rookie manager since 2001 to win a World Series. Bob Brenly won one with the Diamondbacks back in 2001. So Cora with a pretty good, he's kind of set the bar pretty high. You know, you roll into town, you win a World Series.
And you've also heard about just what kind of a man he is. You know, you heard Mayor Marty Walsh from Boston talking about his character and just what an impact he's made on the city, just not only as the, the coach, but as a person as well.
And we did hear from some of the front office members of the Red Sox. I don't know if we can, that was about an hour ago, we may be able to re-rack that sound from some of the pre-rally festivities that were inside Fenway Park. Alex Cora, Sam Kennedy, the Red Sox president. Sam Kennedy, relatively new to that role with the Red Sox, a couple of years now. Here's what those two had to say before the rally started.
In 04, these guys came in, we reversed the curse. In 07, we showed that it wasn't a fluke. In 13, you guys, this entire city came together in a way that no one thought was ever possible. And in 2018, this team made history.
I just hope they understand how important this is for our fan base. Like I've been saying since day one, this is crazy, this is madness, and you guys live this 24 hours, 7 days a week. Your expectations are way up there, but one thing for sure, the same expectations you guys have, that group down there has it too, and that's what they're the world champs.
All right, we've now transitioned back to ground pictures. I believe this could be Tremont Street because I know we've already passed Boylston Street and we're headed towards the Boston Common, and we're starting to see some of the players on these duck boats now.
Dropkick Murphys leading the parade route there. This might be when we hear shipping up to Boston.
Let's listen
or
in just
Tessie,
for a minute.
one of their two.
Watching our special edition of Eyewitness News at noon, live coverage of the Red Sox victory parade. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This is continuing live coverage of our Red Sox rolling rally for the championship team. Want to listen into the parade? I mean, we have just seen, I would say, some of the most exciting moments. They're just happening right now.
Yeah, this is right near,
everywhere.
Yeah, this is right near City Hall. So this is probably where the biggest crowds will be gathered here, right in that plaza. Sox fans, front office staff, getting the fans all riled up.
You know what's so great to see is this rolling rally started at about 11:10 or so we're in an hour deep into this, and it doesn't matter how long it goes. The players, the front office staff, they are as into it now as they were an hour ago. They're keeping that energy level sky high as they're making their way through the streets of Boston.
These are the first contingent of duck boats, front office staff. That was the first one that had Dave Dombrowski and David Ortiz was on that one with one of the Red Sox World Series trophies. They broke them all out for this day, not just the one they won a couple of days ago in Los Angeles.
Zooming into this next boat, let's see who we see on this one, Patrick.
That is the Red Sox Foundation, somebody holding a Mookie Betts fathead, or a sign anyway. And their damage done sweatshirt, switching from do damage, which was the motto, the theme for this team going into the postseason. And they did their damage. So damage done gear now, I'm sure, on sale at your local sporting goods store. If you'd like to.
Hey, listen, that's part of the reason
swag.
Why. Yeah.
There's Alex Cora, Ramon Vasquez, Daniel Evangi, Craig Bjornson. These are all Ron Renicky, the bench coach, all members of the Red Sox coaching staff. And, of course, there's Cora with the 2018 World Series trophy.
Managing both sides of the streets. That's not an easy task. You get quite the crowd there. Estimated 1 million people gathering in Boston today. So these players and staff members have a lot of people to engage with today.
And now we'll see a lot more of the players coming through here. Baseball operations, so many people involved in this, not just the players on the team, also the front office staff. A lot of people call them the nerds, the baseball nerds, the analytics folks that do all that stuff behind the scenes to help the players with their scouting reports, getting ready for their opponents, the other team's pitchers, their other team's the way they should position their players in the field.
Speaking of players, there we go. Steve Pearce, the MVP right there on that boat.
Yeah, Ian Kinsler as well. You can hear the MVP chants. Let's listen in. Chris Sale, Rick Porcello, Cy Young Award winner a couple of years ago. Jack McCormick, the man in the glasses there leaning down, the older gentleman there, longtime traveling secretary for the Red Sox, in charge of getting these players where they need to be when they're on the road. The hotels, the meals, and all those. McCormick can be famously remembered for Manny Ramirez actually pushing him in a clubhouse about 10 years ago when Manny didn't get the tickets he wanted for a game at an opposing stadium. So Jack's seen it all here in Boston. Larry Lucchino, of course, now with the Paw Sox, longtime member of the Red Sox front office. And other members, a Joe Kelly sign there. Other members of the front office staff for the Red Sox. And we should be getting into, oh, here we go. So the Nesson crew, Jerry Remy, of course, Jim Rice, Tim Wakefield. He's won a World Series with a couple of World Series with the Red Sox. So nice to see Jerry Remy there with the hat on backwards to the left of Nesson's Tom Caron there, waving. He's, of course, been battling cancer again this year. Missed a lot of time in the booth, but was able to get back for some studio analysis for the postseason run for the Red Sox. Jerry, of course, a huge fan favorite. Not only what he did when he played for the Red Sox, but more popular perhaps for what he's done as a member of the broadcast team.
And Patrick, he addressed the crowd at Fenway this morning. I don't know if you heard what was tweeted out, his quote this morning. A little bit feisty, saying, "I've kicked cancer's bleep." Jerry, right? Classic Jerry.
Dustin Pedroia, Andrew Benintendi, Brock Holt, Jackie Bradley Jr. And you see Andrew Benintendi, there's Dustin Pedroia holding a WWE belt, of course, or whatever the wrestling. I'm not a wrestling fan, so I don't know if that's WWF, E. I don't know what it is these days. But Pedroia, of course, missed all but I think 3 games this season because of that knee injury. But it's nice to see Dustin taking part, still part of the team, and a core member of this organization for a long, long time.
I'm not sure who that little boy is, but he's holding that sign that says, "You're our Brock star." And imagine being a child on one of those duck boats today, Patrick. Never mind being in the crowd. But being on one of those duck boats in that rolling rally experience, that little boy never going to forget.
Xander Bogaerts, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Eduardo Nunez. We mentioned earlier that big hit Nunez had as a pinch hitter, home run that he hit. So many people contributed to this Red Sox championship this year. I mean, sometimes it's just one or two that you hear about, but really, top to bottom, the Red Sox bullpen, which struggled at times this year, really stepped up in the postseason.
You know, Patrick, one of our producers, directors just mentioned that they think that might have been Brock Holt's son. Imagine just, you know, for these families to be a part of this today. We've seen a number of Red Sox players' spouses and children on some of these floats, and it's nice after, you know, being, you know, watching these World Series games to now be a part of this winning rally today. Very exciting day for those families. Oh, is that the last? Oh, no, there's a few more. A few more of these duck boats making their way, approaching City Hall in Boston today. If you're just joining us, it's about 12:15 on this Halloween. We've been live since about 11 o'clock this morning. Bringing you special coverage of the Red Sox Championship Rally. We're continuing our coverage on WPRI.com as well. We also have our reporter, Julianne Lima, staged outside of Fenway Park, and our sports director, Yanni Caracas. I mean, Yanni, Patrick, hasn't stopped since this World Series journey began.
Good luck finding anyone that has any sympathy for Yanni.
No,
you know, right?
No sympathy, but he has been working hard, and I'm sure taking it all in,
Yanni,
too.
right? Gets to go to a World Series, gets to go to the Super Bowls. Like I should talk. I was able to go to so many of them, and it's such a great ride. Yeah, it's exhausting. It's a lot of work at times, but I would dare to find any sports fan in New England that would not trade jobs with us when it comes to these sort of situations and get a chance to be around history. And Yanni, of course, had a chance to be out there. I mean, I don't want to date myself, but I do every day, it seems, when I talk. When I was in St. Louis in 2004, when the Red Sox broke that curse, just being on the field, being a part of a surreal moment like, wow, this just really happened. And I know we're used to it now around here, and it seems like it's not, I mean, it's still a big deal, but it's maybe wearing on. Maybe it's the excitement, the bloom on the rose, or the
I don't
shine.
know. I think you have a lot of repeat fans that come out. I got to tell you, when I covered the 2013 rally, the last time the Red Sox won, similar vibe, but yet different too, because you have a whole different group of people. I mean, it was all different players for the most part. You know, 5 years ago, a lot of new players on the team this year, and a whole new crop of fans, young fans, with these a lot of dads bringing their young sons to watch this rally today.
You think about it, in 04, and when they won their first one, there's a lot of people here today at this rally that probably didn't have children.
Right.
I mean, I had a 2-year-old, and he certainly doesn't remember them winning in 2004, but now it's a situation where, you know, parents that were fans, younger fans back then 14 years ago, who are now raising children, have families, and they can say, hey, I remember when they won that World Series in 04, and they won again, and you're going to get a chance to go to a rolling rally and see a part of history like I was able to do back when they won that one in 04.
Did you see David Price holding up Nathan Eovaldi's placard there? You know, he's had some great moments today, too. Just the smile on his face and some of the things he said, and saying he's going to stay in Boston today. That's a new development, right? David Price,
yeah, he had, well, really not a tough choice. He had 4 years left on his contract at about $120 million.
Yeah, well,
so, and he had a chance to opt out and become a free agent. He decided to opt back in and remain with the Red Sox, so he will be a member of the team again next year. I think that's Craig Kimbrel there with the beard, the closer for the Red Sox.
That is a great beard.
That is a true playoff beard. More famously made by hockey players, but in that case, Craig doing a nice job with his playoff facial hair.
You got a lot to worry about when you play in the World Series. Why worry about shaving, right? Oh, and there we go once again, holding up that World Series trophy. Does not get old. Listen to the crowd right now. Earlier this morning, Julianne Lima spoke to one of those duck boat drivers who's from Cranston. What an experience for, I think there's anywhere between 24, 28 of those duck boats, to be the driver and to have some of these iconic figures from the Red Sox team or the front office or whoever it might be on your duck boat as you drive through the city of Boston today.
See the LL Bean boot?
Yeah.
Imagine driving that down from Freeport, Maine on 93 South.
Pretty fun. Obey the speed limit in that boot. As we continue our live coverage here on a special edition of Eyewitness News at noon, I want to let you know that once we go off the air in about 5 minutes or so, coverage will continue on WPRI.com. And of course, we have our reporters posting on Facebook and sending tweets from that rolling rally. We'll be doing so throughout the afternoon today as well.
So this rally starting to wind down as it moves towards City Hall in Boston. What a great day weather-wise for something like this, and it's going to continue into tonight